Hi everyone, welcome to the session. So today we are going to see a support ticket where business has requested whenever they release the purchase order, they need to get a notification or they need to have a report where they can see how much level of approval has been done. So there is no SAP standard functionality to do that. So we suggested the client to go with the custom development so that based on the custom development, we can show this functionality in the system. So for that, we started doing the functional specification document. Functional specification document. What is functional specification document? Functional specification document is nothing but you will give the data to the ABAPO. He will build a new report based on the requirement of the client. He will understand what is the business requirement. Then based on that, he is going to build the report. As a functional consultant, what is our role in the functional specification is we need to provide from where the data should get pulled to make that report. So ABAPA does not know which data to have in the report and from where to take the data. So as a functional consultant, we will be providing the data to the ABAPO. Okay. And as you all know, computer does not know any language. It has only the binary language, which is 0 and 1. In the same way, SAP also does not know any language. It has only one language, which is table and fields. So whatever data you are going to create in the system, those are going to save in the table and fields. So the concept of table and fields. For example, if you take table, what is table? So for example, if you take material, in material, you have the basic data. What is the basic data? Basic data contains material number, base unit of measure, description, all those are the fields. So all are included in a single table. Now, for example, you have a table called Mara. So in this table, you will be able to see all the fields like description, base unit of measure, material group. So like this, you will have different fields selected in the single table. So we are going to search the table and we are going to give the data from which table does the data want to be picked to create the function specification. So today we are going to see a topic of report of release approvers. What is the requirement here? The requirement here is whenever the PO is released. Now, for example, if you take what is released, you will have release procedure. This procedure, you will be creating the characteristics, you will be creating the class, release indicator, release group, release strategies. Based on that, you will have the approvers. The approvers. So approvers will be assigned based on the amount, the total value of the PO. If it is 0 to 100, level 1 approval will approve. If it is from 1 to 1 to 1000, two levels of approval will come into picture, level 1 and level 2. So the requirement here is they need to pull a report of how many approvers have been approved the PO. And they can, based on this report, they can also analyze did the approver approve the PO on time or not. Okay, so to fulfill this requirement, we have to write a functional specification document. So functional specification document will contain what is the requirement, actual requirement of the business. Then based on the requirement, we are going to provide the tables and fields from where the data needs to be picked to create that report. In report, whenever you see a report in SAP, we will have two sections. One is selection field and other one is the list fields. Okay, the selection fields, what is the difference between selection fields and list fields? If you see the selection field, in selection field, you can have the filter. For example, you have a plant, you have company code, so you can filter based on your plant and company code there. And based on that filter in the selection field, the data will get reflected in the list field. So whenever you are developing a report in SAP, you need to consider these two sections to be configured. So now we are focusing on the report of release approvers. So we are going to create the report. So you need to consider selection field as well as a list field. Okay. So first thing, for example, think that business want the selection field like company code, like plant, okay, and number of approvers, and they want the price, total price of the PO. So that you are going to create these in the selection field. Based on this, you are going to keep the table and fields to the ABAP, so that he will build the selection field first. Then you need to provide the list fields, so that in list fields, you will have a report like this. The report will get generated like this. So this is your header, and below header, you will have all the details. So what needs to be entered in the header? Which all data you need to pick in the header? That also you only needs to confirm to the ABAP. Okay, so now let's open the functional spec and see what is the exact requirement, and we'll see how we can write the functional specification for that. As we have already written the functional spec, I'll open the functional spec and explain how it works. Okay. So this is the functional and technical specification of the FS document which we are discussed now. So what is the brief discussion here? You are going to check is the agreement which is created in the system is approved or not. So whenever the vendor is ready to supply the goods, he can supply based on the agreement. Now, why we want release procedure for the agreement? Why we want release procedure for agreement is, for example, think that you have a PO. You can write it down. So you have a PO. Let me take M1 as a material. The material price with the vendor V1 is 100. So using this criteria, you're going to place the PO. Right, the first thing. And the second thing, whenever you're placing PO, the PO will be placed for 100 rupees. Right. Now, based on vendor's confirmation, vendor has a good relationship with the company. What they do, they started doing the agreement. Now, vendor and we have an agreement saying that I'll maintain an agreement with you so that you can have an agreement with us and you can supply the same material for 90 rupees. Okay, so we will create the agreement in the system, and that agreement needs to be approved by the higher authorities. So unless and until the higher authorities does not approve the agreement will not come into picture for placing the POs. So they need to release the agreement, then only you will be placing the POs. Now what happened? If the agreement is not approved on time, for example, the POs are already placed, now agreement is also created today, but the approval of this is 5/11. And next 8th day of this agreement creation date, you need to place a PO to them, or they need to supply the material to you. If the agreement which is raised or created is not approved before the 8th day of the agreement created, how the vendor will supply the goods? You cannot supply the goods, or you cannot place a contract with them. You cannot place a PO with using the agreement. So what happens? Again, you need to place a PO for 100 rupees.
So there is a loss for the company of 10 rupees where you are going to get the material in the contract of 90 rupees. As contract is not agreed or the agreement is not approved, you are again going to buy with the price of 100 rupees. So the agreement needs to be approved on time so that the company can get some of the benefits or the material can be supplied with a low price. Right. So what business did, business had a requirement that I need to have a report where I can check if all the agreements are approved on time or not. If it is not approved, then I can ask the approver to approve on time so that I'm not going to lose the money on placing the PO for the original value. As already I have a contract with the vendor or agreement with the vendor, then too, why should I place the PO for the higher value? So we took this requirement, then started working on it. As we found that there is no standard functionality in SAP, we started building the function specification document. So while building function specification document, agreement is also created using the PO script. So they requested they need an input screen where they can put a filter of the agreement number, agreement creation date. So they want this filter. So using this table, we used this table to pick all the information regarding the field and took all the information like agreement number is stored in EVELN, agreement creation date is stored in AEDAT. If you go to SE16N and put this table, you will find all these details there. So you can pull the data from there and give it to the wrapper as an input screen. Now you need the output based on this input. So what is the output they require? They require which all agreements are not approved yet. And if it is not approved, who is the user who needs to approve? And at what level he needs to approve? That is the requirement. So to build the output, we have a logic saying that we are going to this table and see the release group and the release strategy. This is for release strategy and this is for release group. So we are going to take these two fields and we are passing these two fields to this table T16FS and we are finding is there any approvers mentioned or created for that agreement. If it is yes, then system will show those are the approvers. It will not show the name, it will show just the approver code, which is release code. Then you will go to the release status. You are going to filter now the system saying that which all are not yet approved, which are approved. If it is approved, then you don't want that list. You want the list which is not approved. So you are going to use this line to filter the agreements which are approved and which are not approved. So then you use this table and the field to see the indicator. Indicator says the PO is blocked or it is released. If it is released, then you can avoid it. If it is still blocked, you need to check at which level it is blocked, the first level or the second level. Okay, and then you need to check on which user it is blocked. So this level L1 and L2 is assigned to the which workflow. To take that name, you are going to the CDHDR table and then you are going to pick the object class. Based on that, you are going to get the release codes and you're going to get the release name who is going to approve it. Right? Based on this configuration, you can, based on this FS document and enhancement, you can fulfill the client's requirement that agreement is not approved, so it can be approved. And one more thing also you can do in this scenario. If you want to trigger the email for this release codes or the released byte, you can also put a line here saying that you need to trigger an email to this approver using the subject line. So that whenever they pull a report, they can have one button to send an email. They can click on that button. As soon as he clicks that button or enters that button, the information is on, it will be sent in the email format to the approvers to approve the agreements. So that they are going to check the emails and they are going to approve the agreements. Right? And these all are the same parameters. You're going to have the filter, you're going to have the frequency, you're going to have the background job, We're going to create a T code for that. And for every function spec, you will have a program, which is written by the functional technical consultant with the help of the functional consultant. Okay. Thank you.